2021 local government election results sent a clear message to the country's ruling elite that South Africa's future is now in the hands of the marginalized. This is the view of Cry of the Excluded, which was formed last year as a vehicle to unite the working class, the employed and unemployed, in the struggle for jobs, services, as well as dignity. Cry of the Excluded is made up of South African Federation of Trade Unions, the Association of Mineworkers and Construction Union, as well as the Assembly of the Unemployed. Joining us to discuss that is Zwelinzima Vavi. He's the General Secretary of SAFTU. Mr. Vavi, a pleasure to have you on the program this morning. Let me first start by getting a reflection from you on these recent local government elections. Are you in any way surprised at the outcome of these elections and the poor showing of the bigger political parties?
Not at all. I mean, it's been coming from 1999. More and more of the marginalized working class poor majority have been showing that they are not interested in these political gimmicks. And this time around, the statement they have made is far more devastating and much more straightforward and much more unequivocal. And the message is that you have been playing this palace politics, and we have been ignoring, neglecting the most basic interest of the marginalized, which is jobs and the living wage, which is ensuring better services for our communities, which is addressing poverty and ensuring that there is a clear strategy to redistribute wealth from the rich to the poor.
Right.
And we have not been looking after our state-owned enterprises. We are suffering. Our environment is collapsing in front of us. Nothing is going okay. And this time around, they will not be fooled by anybody. And they just stayed away from the elections in mass. And I hope that that message it has reached home on the ruling class and the ruling elites, that South Africa can't continue to be one country with two countries, where there is a greater majority trapped in degrading poverty, unemployment, hopelessness, and a tiny minority on the other country which is enjoying prosperity and unbelievable wealth and opulence at the expense of that greater majority.
Now, when reflecting on the performance of the ANC, it is quite interesting that you also see that the results point to a liberation movement that turned its back on the people of South Africa and chose to serve big business and enrichment to just a few. Just talk us through this aspect.
The ANC was the biggest organization. The best thing that could have happened to our people under the yoke of colonialism and apartheid, it united them across the tribal lines and created a single movement of the African people yearning for a defeat of that colonial system and apartheid. And it was armed by very clear strategy. One of it is contained in its own document called the Freedom Charter, that the wealth of the country shall be shared amongst the people. When that didn't happen, at that moment, when the ANC chose a strategy of a trickle-down economic policies of neoliberalism, of moving itself out of the economy, of privatizing the most basic services from telecommunication, transport, and now energy. It was turning its back on the people who it says now, you black people, you are on our own, as we are clinching a deal after a deal with the elites, including imperialist forces, as we have just seen this week, where the president was so happy and saluted by the president of America and Britain, who are very happy that he's happy to destroy his own coal mining industry without an alternative of a clear, just transition to renewable strategy in the country to ensure that the people who are currently employed in the coal industry are not left in the large. The communities of Limpopo and Mpumalanga who rely on that coal are not left in the large. It is those many examples that have turned the ANC against its own core constituencies, which used to be the black working class.
Let's shift gears a bit and speak about this campaign under the banner of Cry of the Excluded. What is this about, and how is this alliance performed?
Well, it was, we're calling ourselves the Cry of the Excluded because Again, the political gimmicks have excluded the civil society. The progressive mass-based organizations from NEDLAC have excluded the second largest federation from NEDLAC. We are not being engaged in any kind of a forum to recognize the strength of the unity between organized workers, the unemployed, the organizations of the people's power in the communities, the emerging civic organizations that are independent from the captured Sanko. And that unity is a unity to say we should not be left behind in a democracy. We demand jobs that pay a living wage. We want an economic structure that will be completely overhauled to ensure that there is industrialization, there is a building of the manufacturing sector, that the mineral wealth of the country is put to the hands of the South African working class, that the energy continues to be public utility at the hands of the public, and that the public transport system is put in the hands of the public, so that it is not used to generate more profits for the elite, leading to a situation where today 80% of workers are using taxis to go to work, when in the past, even during the apartheid, that was not the case. There was buses. Even in the former homelands of Bantustans, there was a train and railway system, which is currently completely collapsed in provinces such as in Gauteng. This is what we're calling the movement and a slow, sometimes rapid march towards a failed state. And the main victims of that failed state is going to be the working class, the black people, the women, the youth, that are currently the face of unemployment and poverty.
Now, you also expressed that the situation is rapidly unfolding, where a national uprising of the poor will inevitably explode. What do you mean by this?
Look, the majority of the citizens of this country are now saying to the political system, we have no confidence in you. Right. We don't trust you. We don't trust you, all you politicians, because we don't believe that you are acting in the best interest of us, the marginalized, poor, working class majority, and that we're not going to participate. This was a vote of no confidence, not just to the political parties contesting the elections, but this was a vote of no confidence on the political system itself, including the capitalist order that we live under. It's ordinary people expressing a view that is unmistaken, that we are not interested in something that we know we will not benefit from. We have tried this thing for 27 years. It has not worked for us. So the message is that we will have to unite. The unemployed will have to unite with the organized workers in the trade unions. The trade unions must do their job so that they can be more relevant to workers, and that the women must unite with their daughters and sons who are unemployed, with the environmental groups, with the people who are battling against evictions in our townships, who are being removed from the city centers of Cape Town so that only the rich can reside in Cape Town, who are battling against evictions in the farms, who are sometimes being brutalized by even the vestiges of the old fiefdom of the chiefs, who are conniving with the current elite to deny our people their right to land and to decent living standards. So this is a coalition, the broadest coalition that we are seeking to build here to fight back. And we're going to be fighting back on the 11th of November. We are going to be picketing outside Parliament as the Minister of Finance is going to be reading yet again another pro-rich budget, which is going to see even further and deeper cuts on the most basic services, such as the provision of infrastructure, the provision of money to the local government to deal with the massive backlogs that we have seen so exposed during the election campaign, to deal with the health and education crisis, the crisis of crime, and the fact that the vacancies are not being filled in the police, in the health, in the education structure, making us to reverse even the gains that we have secured in the first 27 years of democracy. That's what the fight is all about.
Now, as we wrap up our conversation, I'm sure lessons can be drawn from these elections. One looks at the low voter turnout. Let's speak about how this will shape the upcoming 2024 elections. What do you think is going to happen there?
Same thing is going to happen unless the working class decides that enough is enough. They're no longer going to just stay away from the polls, but they're going to have to create their own instruments under their own control to contest power, not in the parliament, because that's where the mistake is. We want power contested by the working class in the schools to make sure that our education system is transformed and works in the best interest of the marginalized. We want the working class to contest power in the health boards to make sure that the current vacancies and the infrastructure backlogs are addressed. We want the working class to contest power in their wards, in their communities, in their rural areas. Excuse me. And we want power contested in the workplace, and eventually we want power contested even in parliament, in everywhere where we can use the influence of the number and the unity of the working class to change the situation around. We should do that. But we're not ready to do that. If we don't get that thing sorted out very soon, unfortunately, we're going to see even lesser numbers of people having any interest or showing any interest to participate in the elections. And that's where the danger is. The danger is this, that one day this majority that is being governed by the minority will rise and say, you are not doing all of these things on our behalf.
That was SAFTU General Secretary Zwelinzima Vavi. And